When we think of the ancient Hebrew prophets, we usually picture these kind of wild-eyed fortune tellers, right, predicting the future. But what if their main job wasn't to predict the future, but to change it? So let's dive into that and explore this powerful three-part message that's really at the heart of their mission. It's a message of accusation, consequence, and then, believe it or not, radical hope. Okay, this one line from the prophet Ezekiel, it's pretty much the key to understanding the whole thing. The prophets didn't see themselves as mystics. They saw themselves as watchmen. I mean, picture a guard standing on a city wall, and he sees an enemy army approaching on the horizon. His job isn't to guess what happens next, it's to sound the alarm, to warn everybody about the danger that's coming. And look, this was not a casual gig. The stakes were incredibly high. Ezekiel is super clear on this. If the watchman sees the danger and says nothing, he's actually held responsible for the lives that are lost. But if he sounds the alarm and the people refuse to listen, well, he's done his duty. He's saved his own life. This was a life or death calling to speak the truth, no matter how much people didn't want to hear it. So, what was this big danger they saw? What was the alarm they were so desperately trying to sound? Well, that brings us to the first part of their message, a really blistering critique of the society around them. They looked at their world and just saw a land of iniquity. And the prophets, they weren't vague about it at all. They got incredibly specific. They railed against the way the most vulnerable people were being exploited. You hear them calling out those who cheat workers out of their pay, who deny justice to immigrants, a society just full of violence and lies. For them, you could really measure a society's health by how it treated its least powerful members. I mean, you can just feel the raw anger and passion in their message. Listen to that imagery from the prophet Amos. A human life is worth less than a pair of shoes. The poor are being trampled underfoot like they're nothing more than dirt. This wasn't just some polite suggestion. It was a cry of absolute moral outrage against a system that had completely lost its way. The prophets saw all this social breakdown as a symptom of a much deeper spiritual problem. It was a complete failure in their relationship with God. They accused the people of breaking these foundational agreements or covenants they had made, of being, as they put it, hard-headed and hard-hearted. The prophet Jeremiah says they were each just following the stubbornness of his evil heart. But what's so fascinating is that even going through the religious motions wasn't enough. I mean, people were still going to the temple, they were offering sacrifices, celebrating the festivals, but the prophets basically said it's all worthless. This quote from Hosea just nails it. God isn't interested in your religious rituals if they aren't backed up by justice, by mercy, by a real, genuine relationship with him. All right, so that's the accusation. Let's move to the second part of their message, because it all builds. If you ignore the watchman's warning, what happens next? Well, for the prophets, the answer was absolutely terrifying. The day of the Lord, a day of reckoning for all the injustice they had been shouting about. The language the prophets used to describe this is, well, it's cosmic and just earth-shattering. The prophet Joel paints this incredibly grim picture of the heavens themselves being thrown into chaos. It's like the natural order of the universe is being completely disrupted, a sign that the very fabric of reality is coming undone. And this chaos wasn't just up in the sky. Isaiah describes the land itself being torn apart, just laid to waste. The idea here is that the consequences of human evil, they're not contained. They spill out and poison the entire world, leading to utter devastation. And this summary from Zephaniah is just chilling. He just piles on the words, one after another, leaving you with absolutely no doubt about how terrible this day is going to be. It's an all-encompassing collapse, social, political, environmental, and spiritual. This is the ultimate, inescapable consequence of a world that refused to listen. So you hear all of that, the accusation, the violence, the cosmic collapse, and you just have to ask, is that it? Is the story just about judgment and total destruction? I mean, is there any hope left at all? And what's so amazing is that the answer is yes, and it's the most surprising part of the whole message. And that brings us to the third and final act in this whole prophetic drama. Right when everything seems totally lost, when the city is in ruins and the world is in chaos, the prophets point to this tiny, almost invisible seed of hope. And this hope, it unfolds in this really remarkable three-stage process. It starts small, with just a remnant. That's a small group of faithful people from all nations who will be saved from the destruction.
Then, from that small group, a divine seed is going to emerge, a new, just leader. And that leader will bring about the final incredible step, a new creation, a complete renewal of everything.
This has to be one of the most beautiful images in all of prophecy. I mean, picture a huge tree that's been chopped down, leaving behind nothing but a dead stump. Isaiah says that from that dead stump, a new green shoot of life is going to emerge. This branch represents that promised leader who's going to bring wisdom and righteousness and justice back to the world. Hope doesn't just survive destruction, it grows right out of it. But this new leader isn't just there to, fix the political system. His arrival signals something so much more profound. It leads to the ultimate promise of the prophets, a new creation, literally the remaking of humanity itself. And this gets right to the root of the problem. See, the prophets realized that more laws and rules just weren't enough because the real issue was the human heart. So Ezekiel prophesies that God is going to perform a kind of spiritual heart transplant, taking out our hard, rebellious heart of stone and replacing it with a living, responsive heart of flesh, with a new spirit inside. It's this incredible promise to heal humanity from the inside out. And this profound inner transformation, it leads to a total outer transformation of the world. This iconic vision from Isaiah is the ultimate result. A world where the very tools of war are reforged into tools for farming, for cultivation. A world where violence isn't just managed, it's unlearned. This is the final destination of the prophetic hope, a universal, lasting peace. So we see this incredible arc, right, from the Watchman's urgent warning all the way to a world completely remade. And it really leaves us with a powerful question to think about. This ancient pattern of calling out injustice, of warning about its consequences, and yet still holding on to this radical hope for a new creation. What can it teach us about the challenges and maybe the possibilities that we face in our own world today?